Hey, listeners, thank you so much for joining us for the second season of Midlife at the Mailbox. Over 8 years ago, Denyse and I met during a chance meeting at our neighborhood mailbox. Over the years, our friendship has blossomed into something bigger.
We can't wait to tell you all about it. And although we no longer share a mailbox, we really are closer than ever in real life. This meeting at the mailbox inspired a friendship, a business relationship, a lot of laughs, a couple tears, and now a podcast. So come along and listen in. We're so glad you're here.
As a parent, how many times a day do you find your child or children watching YouTube? Everyone? Okay, then, how many times a day do you follow up with turn off effing YouTube and find something to do? So you're probably also wondering why I'm asking these questions. And I'll tell you, it's because it's part of the reinvention of our guest today, Beth Bowen.
Oh, the YouTube generation. It's a parent's favorite and least favorite website, right? But for mom of four and self-taught artist and my friend Beth Bowen, she is no stranger to YouTube. In fact, YouTube may or may not have been a major stepping stone for Beth. Now, before we get into all that, let me introduce you to my friend and fellow president, Beth Bowen. Hi, Beth.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Thank you for joining us. This is so much fun. There's always a Fresno connection, right?
I love it.
We went to Bullard High School in Fresno, California, and we were classmates. We were on the high school cheer squad. I was a little bit ahead of Beth, so I might be a year or two older than her. But we both live in Southern California now. And, I've seen you a few times over the years, but we've kept in touch on social media. And, the Fresno 559 bond is always strong, right?
Always.
And the past couple of years, I've watched and cheered on Beth from TV and social media sidelines because she really has reinvented her career and life as a single mom. As a career coach, I was just fascinated by it all and just, proud to say that I knew her and spent time with her in high school, right? And so I asked her if she wanted to be on and tell us about her story, about how she really, became an abstract or international artist, displaying her art at Art Basel, the Louvre, and upcoming show in New York. I mean, there's so many things, right? It's just the tip of the iceberg on what she's got going as an artist. So, we're so excited to have you with us at the mailbox and to share your reinvention story.
Thank you so
Amy
much for
teased
having
you
me.
that, and Amy teased you that, the listeners, that you learned how to become an artist on YouTube. So why don't you share your story? Let's just cut right to the chase. How did you reinvent yourself through YouTube as an artist?
Well, lots of adversity, lots of obstacles happened in my life. Starting with my mom passing away in 2013, that was just awful. And I was super close to my mom. So my mom and I, we talk like 3 times a day. And if you ever met my mom, she's the type, she says hi to everybody. She loves everyone. My brother and I would joke, she was like Mrs. LaRusso from The Karate Kid. Like, she was like, hi, kids. Like, she loved everyone. And I was going through marital issues, and my mom became sick, and she was like, I'm worried about you. Are you going to be okay? I'm like, I'll figure it out. Don't worry, Mom. And then she passed away, and it was just that reminder of life is so short. Why am I not living or finding what my purpose is, doing something for myself? Why am I letting fear guide all of my decisions? And as awful as it was losing my mom, that's the reason I also filed for divorce. And then I literally left a very, cushioned life. It was very comfortable to nothing. And I didn't have a career. Fully financially dependent. And so for me, it was like, what now? And it was so terrifying. Yet it's like getting through that storm allowed me to, like, doors started opening. Like, once you take a jump, a leap of faith, it's like the universe rewards you. And once I did that, I contacted an old agent. I'm like, send me out commercials, print, whatever you have. Like, I need work. And I was trying to find odd jobs, anything that would help me have some sort of financial stability. Totally on rock bottom, couldn't afford rent.
Oh, wow.
Moved to my friend's guest house, got on food stamps. I mean, I had nothing.
Wow.
And then from that, I went into an audition, or a friend of mine was working on a show with Nicole Richie, and they were doing something with moms. She's like, come, just like stand in, and, it's going to be like a mom discussion. And Jill was like the mom expert, and she's like, I just saw the playbacks. You looked really great on film. I'm doing a show. I would love for you to audition for it. I'm like, oh, awesome. Thank you. Yes. I just said yes to everything. I mean, if someone's like within means, I'm like, yeah, I can do it. Yes, I'm available. And it ended up being the Bravo show, There Goes the Motherhood.
Right. Yeah.
And through like tons of hoops. And they're like, Bravo's moving forward with you. I'm like, awesome. I mean, my life was like a snow globe. Everything was out of sorts. It was just craziness. That part of my life is such a fog, like going back, like, I don't even know if I was present. Like, I don't know how I got through. Like, I was just on autopilot.
Wait, hold on. What years? That was, like you said, your mom passed in 2013.
Yeah, we filmed 2014, but they shelved the show for 2 years. It didn't come out to 2016.
Okay.
And so then, and during that period, I met a great guy. We were together for 4 years. And then for kind of out of the blue, that relationship ended. Still to this day, not sure why, but it was like show getting canceled, not having a career, another failed relationship. What am I doing? Like, this is, it was awful. It was just like, I think I was 38 at the time, and just feeling so discouraged and sad, victim party of one, and licking my wounds. Like, what am I going to do with my life? And at this point, during my marriage, I spent a ton of money on therapy, and I love therapy. I'm a therapy junkie, but it just got too expensive and I didn't have the money for it. And I started painting. So that was like my therapy. And I bought canvases at Michael's, and I just started watching these YouTube tutorials, and I loved it. And I went from, making some god awful pieces to like, wow, that's cool. Or this is really neat. There's something to this. And the executive producer of the show circled back with me. She left Bravo, went to Nat Geo at Washington, D.C. And she was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just started painting. I just taught myself. She's like, great, paint me something. My producing partner's dad passed 909. Do something with those numbers. Have it to me by the end of the week. And
this was what year?
The beginning of 2018.
Okay.
And so I then, I sent her the piece. It was small. I framed it. And she called me like a week later, and she's like, I don't know what you just did, but he's in tears. You need to do this. Like, this is, I feel like you're calling. And she's amazing. Like, I'll help you. We'll get in galleries. We'll do this and that. She didn't do any of that, but it was her initial belief in me that like lit the torch under my butt. Like, there's something here. Let's go for it. And even if there's not, I have nothing going on. So if I fail miserably, it's okay. I can only go up from here. I just feel like truly a phoenix through all of this, because I really put myself out there. I committed, like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a gallery showcase. I'm going to invite everyone on Facebook, and like 250 of my closest friends and family came. When I booked the place online, had no idea what a curator was, had no idea how a gallery is even set up, how to book one. It was like $500 for the night. I just clicked yes. I want the space. Here's the date. Ramses, the director of the gallery and also became my curator, said, how many pieces do you have? And I said, well, how many pieces does your place hold? And he said, well, depending on the size, if it's like 36 by 36 or 48 by 48, 3 feet by 3 or 4 by 4, I can hold about 13. And I'm like, well, fantastic, because I have 13. And I didn't.
Oh,
I had like, 6. So I was like, I'll crank out 7 really quick.
Yeah, so it meant, it was meant to be, right? I mean,
it was meant to be. But he loved my stuff. And I was like, you do? And I'm like, oh, it's LA. He's just being nice. And he's like, oh, yeah, I want to help you. I'm like, okay. I'm never going to hear from him again. 2 weeks later, he called me to join a group collective with the Gabriel Fine Arts of London. It was all these international artists. And he's like, you're the wild card spot. Bring your Mermaid Lagoon. I didn't even know which Mermaid Lagoon, because I named them all like on the fly. So I didn't know you have to name pieces too. So I was like going through inventory and I'm like, oh, it didn't sell that night. It's available. Awesome. Ironically, that's the only piece that sold that night. And so the head of the gallery from London was like, do you have any pieces 12 by 24? And I said, sure. How many do you need? Like, well, we'd like to take 3 of them to Art Basel. And the only reason I knew Art Basel was a big deal, don't judge, but I was folding laundry to keeping up the Kardashians and they were all going. And they're like, it's the Academy Awards of Art. And I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, but I didn't even, I just saw that they were all going. They're like, it's the Academy Awards of Art. It's the biggest deal. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go. I gotta be there. So I made them that night, the 12 by 24, the 3 pieces.
Oh my gosh.
And through that experience, met Mark Shapiro. He is an art agent out of New York. He came to the booth, my booth that I was at, and this is also in Art Basel, like proper, like one of the main auditoriums. So he reached out to me and asked if I had representation, which I didn't, and he helped me link up with a gallery out of New York, Artifact and Art Up Close out of New York. So they represented me at LA Art Show, New York Art Expo, and Art Santa Fe. And then through New York Art Expo, I met the Steiner Gallery out of Austria, which also linked me to Pax Gallery, which also in Austria. Through them, I submitted to Art Monaco, Prince Albert's private gallery showcase, the Louvre, and the Cannes Film Festival. And I got into all of them. So
That's
1 year from the day I started, I had a piece at the Louvre as a modern art master.
Wow.
That's amazing. All from YouTube.
From
well,
YouTube.
It was YouTube, but what pervasive, or you just your drive, your ability to like network and get into the art world, literally navigate the art world that you knew nothing about before 2018, really, right? And
I had nothing to lose, so I was like all in. I'm like, here's my art. Yay or nay. At this point, though, and unfortunately, it took such devastation, like losing my mom, to make these crazy, like all in impulsive choices and decisions to be like fearless. I just put fear in the back seat. And I just remember being a young mom in Palos Verdes, like I always felt judged. I always felt like people were like, oh, she has all these kids. She doesn't really know what's going on. Maybe we can help her. And I always felt like, I don't know. I was insecure about everything I was doing. I'm like, oh, we have to have the best birthday parties and my kids always have to look perfect and they have to have bows in their hair and they have to do this and that. And I'm like, why was I didn't live my life for me. I lived my life for what I thought people expected from me or how it should be. And then it's like, when you go through divorce, you go through death, you just don't care about the bullshit anymore. You just don't. It's like, I don't care if anyone thinks of me. Like, they're not paying my bills. I don't care about the noise like I used to care. I used to totally care about all that stuff.
Right.
And then the second I really started living my life and doing things that I wanted to do and like stepping into what I felt is my purpose and my light and allowing myself to shine, it's like things just took off.
The floodgates open. Yeah. And success.
Totally took off.
Well, it's amazing.
I know it really is. And it's a testament too, though, to yourself, right? And what you did and your talent, right? You kind of unearthed this talent, right? From reinventing yourself, right? And going through these major life events. I've heard Maria Shriver talk about something similar, right? When she lost both her parents. I know you still have your dad, but she lost both her parents, and then she was going through all that, tumultuous relationship experience in her marriage with Arnold Schwarzenegger and all of those things. And that's when she really felt like, okay, like, she had to do something for herself too. She also had, a large family as well.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not a mistake, right? That a lot of people come to this like point, this like apex, right? Where they kind of have to do something like that in their careers and in their life choices, right? So I would love to.
Well, and I was gonna say, Dee, to your point about doing things for yourself, our last guest that we just had on, Jessie from Titty City Design, was the same thing. She comes off of her maternity leave and realized that, she has to figure out a way as a new mom to get herself back. And again, she utilized art and building this community to find her way. And it's a testament to like the strength that, that we all have inside of us that allows us to be able to take these steps forward. And, you said at the very beginning of the show, fear stops us from taking these steps and doing things that we might not typically do. And one of the other things that you said is, as you were telling your story, it resonated with me in terms of this, and I was Googling it too, this quote by an author, Erin Hansen. And she said, what if I fail? And it started me thinking yes, but my darling, what if you fly? And I think that's it, right? The fear stops us from doing things. When Denyse and I, a few years ago, when Denyse said to me, Amy, you want to do this podcast? And I was the yes friend that I was going to say yes. And we, tabled it for a little bit. And then we finally put it out there and we were like, what are we going to do? And it's just do it. Because at the end of the day, we're doing this for us.
Start. Yep.
You just have to
start. Yep. Just got to
break out that mic. So it's really, really amazing. And I think utilizing the art, it is totally inspiring, and utilizing the art as therapy and as a way to channel, your thoughts. And, clearly it has this really, art has such a message to it. So this wasn't necessarily a question that we had prepped previous to our conversation, but, as you're painting these pieces, what drives you? What gives you that inspiration?
So backing up,
I know there was a lot.
No, I love it. I just want to start. Just also the quote that I said in the beginning. I was just those who dare to fail miserably can achieve greatly. And I really believe it really is what it takes. You can't test the waters. You can't kind of tiptoe. You have to really commit all in.
Yeah.
And when you do, and there's no life preserver, I'm going to go and I'm going to tackle this. You have to go all in, and you have to change the narrative in your head. Because the second you start doubting yourself and questioning yourself, or saying, we are our own worst enemies just by what we say to ourselves. And I think for me, I changed everything. I see angel numbers 333 or 222, 1111, 11. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on the right path. These are all signs. Yes. Keep going. And even if it's a no, something else opens up, but it's changing. The mental dialogue was huge to my success, 100%, because I had nothing to show for it in the beginning. I was just taking these wins and wins and wins. And I mean, my bank account did not reflect my success because I was broke. But I mean, that's also, it's temporary. And so it's just, I just going all in and not losing track of that. And also I feel like putting fear out of the equation, because that is the dream killer. The second you doubt yourself, the second you start listening to all that, it's sabotaging. It's self-sabotaging. So putting that in the backseat and moving forward. So now fast forward, I get to the Louvre. I didn't have a style at this point. Year one, I had, if you look on my art Instagram at Beth Bowen Art, in the very beginning, at the very bottom, shameless plug, you can see all these different styles. I mean, it's like there's like geometrics and there's fluid pours and there's like a Jackson Pollocky style. I mean, this is like a little bit of something from everybody else's style because I didn't know what I was doing, but it gave people an idea of like ranges. So you like something like this? I can do something like this. Like, what do you like? To the deep blue that was being shown at the Louvre. Oh. I was on the plane back and literally thinking to myself, like, what an acid trip. Like, how the hell did I get here? This is so surreal. Like, you wouldn't believe it. Like, I'd be like, I love at parties, like 2 truths and a lie. Like, no one's like, oh yeah, okay, you weren't at the Louvre. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy.
In high school, did you rate most likely to be an artist?
No. Yeah, I got biggest flirt, actually.
I think I did too.
So anyways, I was sitting on the plane and
Maybe that was junior high. Sorry.
It was a combination of, Paris, it's always raining. So it was, the raindrops were coming down. I had a window seat and I just saw these lines of the water falling down. And I'm like, how did I get here? And it's so crazy how many times my life has taken a pivot, or it's just like, here, I'm like the happy housewife and everything is, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I don't work. And it's like, oh, I'm still a mom. Marriage is over. Cut to, now I'm doing this reality show. And so I was like, and going through the worst time of my life, still grieving my mom, my failed marriage, and it's all for the world to see. It was like I was an autopilot, like a robot, and then that show gets canceled, and then I'm in this relationship that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna marry this guy, of course, obviously, and then the rug got pulled from underneath me, and I'm like, okay, what now? And then I found art, and I just thought, God, our lives are our canvases. We may only have this one life, but we can recreate it as many times as we like. And that was the message behind with the paintbrush coming down and all the different colors. Like,
I love that.
Like, seemingly
I love those pieces.
Life. And I mean, when I was married at 23, I mean, we traveled the world and I would say had all the modern luxuries and this and that. It didn't work out. Anyway, so it was like, it may seem like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like curveball. Just kidding. Snow globe effect. Everything gets turned around. Now what? Like I'm back in the rinse cycle. So I just feel like that resonated most with me. That also starting art later in life, like approaching 40 at the time. And I just like your life, your canvas. That's it. We can recreate, we can paint over and start fresh. So painting the canvas white again is that next chapter. You're changing jobs, you're relocating, you're moving cross country, whatever. They're all terrifying things. It doesn't have to be divorce. It's just like, it's just starting over and self-acclimating to it and accepting it and thriving through it. And also giving yourself permission to live your best life. Like I feel like I'm living. Like I love my life so much. I absolutely love my life. I love doing cool stuff all the time. Like I say yes to a lot of opportunities. I feel like, oh, I'm tired, or the kids have this tomorrow. I'm like, I'm going. I'll go tonight. I'll get up early. I'll still be with the kids. Like I can do it all. Like I can manage. It's also taught me how to manage my time. And carve out time. Like when I paint, I get up at 5:45 in the morning. My painting time's from that to 6:45 or like 4:45, sometimes 6:45. I have 2 hours in the morning, depending on when I go to sleep or whatever. But I'll do 2 hours in the morning, or I'll find time to go to the gym. I'll drop off the kids, or now I'm, whatever. But I'm just saying, it's just that time management is so important too, because we all have the same amount of time in the day.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
now,
time.
Denyse would call that your career flow, right? Am I learning?
Yeah, she's in flow. Not only, I think she's in more than career flow. She's in like full vibrancy flow, right? Like,
yes.
like
Feeling vital.
Yeah, I love it. It feels good.
Do you find that morning, that time you carve out early in the morning, is that your creative time?
Definitely.
Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love it. And I feel
be an
like I'm
early
the most
riser.
present. Yeah, I love it. I love my morning routine. I love my morning coffee. I love the quiet. I love being present and thinking. And I'm a big dreamer. I love thinking like, what about this? Like, how cool would it be if this happened? Or it's almost like when a phone call comes in, like, hey, we sold your piece in Malibu. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Like, you won't believe to who? I'm like, what? Neil Diamond. I'm like, what?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he bought my original Your Life, Your Canvas.
Oh my gosh, how cool is
The
that?
number one?
So
the number
awesome.
one?
The number one, the original.
I love it.
So it was just like so awesome. I'm like, wow. It's just like, it was cool enough that my painting sold. And then it was like, oh, and Neil Diamond bought it. I'm like, nice. This is so cool. So I have a sweet soft spot for Sweet Caroline every time it comes on.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thought of that. I know.
He's got the BB hanging in his, do you know where he's got it hanging?
And do you think, Beth, I mean, my husband said this because he lost his dad about 5 years ago, but he kind of went into this whole, live your best life, YOLO, for lack of, Kardashian plug, but like, just you only live once type of thing. And he went through that. I mean, I think he still is to a point, but the pandemic kind of slowed us down for a little while. Like, do it. Like, you don't know how much time you have left. You don't know like what the quality of your life's going to be like. You don't know if you're going to have money in the bank tomorrow. Not you. I'm just saying like anybody, right? Like, just go for it, right? Like
100%.
Yeah. Because I mean, last episode we talked, or 2 episodes ago, we talked a lot about the sandwich generation, because I'm kind of facing that a little bit right now, and you've already been in it, right? Kind of for a while, with your mom, I imagine being sick, and then you have 4 little ones, right? And then, well, they're not little anymore, but they're like, four children. Right. And so, I mean, where do you find your support now?
So first, how old are your kids now?
19, 16, 13, and 11.
Okay. 19, 16. All right.
Yes. So, I mean, I lean on friends. I do. My oldest drives. I definitely asked for help, which I was too proud to in the past. Mm-hmm. I have no problem doing it now. I'm like, can anyone, or in a group chat, like, hey, grab Lorenzo, that'd be amazing. Or, a meeting came up or something came up. And I let go also of a lot of guilt. I always felt like, I had to be super mom, or I had to show everyone but I'm such a great mom though too. And I just let go of all of that. Like, I know I'm a good mom. I don't need to put a post every 2 seconds. Look at how happy my kids are. They're happy. Right. See how happy they are. I mean, yeah, they're freaking happy. I don't need to post that all the time. But I do post about my art, because I do want to show the wins. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to brag. I don't want to do it. Brag, girl. Show us what you're doing. Let us cheer. Like, let's go. Like, I think we need to do more of that. Let's cheer each other on. And in the art world, do you know that we're only represented women by 13%? It's a man-driven world. And the irony is, we are all artists. We paint our faces every day. We put our outfits together. Like, the irony, it's like, but we're only represented by 13%. Wow. That's galleries, museums, and it's insane. Like, I want a win for women. Like, there was a Gary Vee quote that I put on my story, and I'm going to probably butcher it, but it was like, he'd rather work with A+ humans with like B- talent that will always like basically beat out A+ talent. It's something to that effect, where it was like, I may not be the best artist in the world, but if I can pave the way for other women to come through, that's a huge win. Right. If I have the guts to do it, I don't really care if it's like, if it doesn't work and it's just like things that keep happening. I'm like, yes, amazing. Yes, awesome. Then
that's so cool.
Let's pave a way for the rest of the ladies.
Yeah, and I bet, oh my gosh, your kids probably like, I mean, they may not show it or, say it, but the fact that you like have done this and garnered all this success, I mean, and you have fun and look amazing while doing it, guys. I mean, it's just like,
you.
it's just, really inspiring, like I said, just to see. It's so fun to watch. Like I said, literally watching by the sidelines. Last time we saw each other was that mom event, right? Like right
Yeah,
before
that was fun.
COVID hit. Yeah, Beth was so kind to attend an event one of my friends was hosting, and she came with another friend, and I think maybe your art was just starting. But anyway, it's so fun to watch you and just loving life and having so much success. So that's so great.
So from a success standpoint, you've talked about, the big shows that you've been in. I did see something recently on your Instagram that, we all love to get some great pieces at. So tell us about this new endeavor with Home Goods.
Home Goods. Oh, so awesome, right? So Home Goods was my mom's favorite store. So every time she'd come down to visit me, she would bring something.
Who doesn't love a Home Goods?
Look what I found at Home Goods. And she's like, well, let's go to the LA ones and see if we can find a match. And it was so cool to meet the buyers of Home Goods because they would talk about also like the treasure hunting aspect, how they have certain pieces in different stores and you go to a different one, you might find a match or whatever. I mean, it's by design set up.
Wow, that's intentional. Who knew?
Yeah. Intentional. They love the treasure hunting aspect. The opportunity, it's so funny because when I first started art, a friend of mine reminded me, she said, I'll never forget, you said one day, if I can have prints at Home Goods, I know I won. Like I made it. And all these other cool things started happening, from obviously all the great shows I was able to showcase at. And then at Coachella as well. I did a big container for Coachella.
Oh, cool.
And World Cup. I had a big mural that was shipped to Qatar. All these really epic things. And then I had this opportunity for Home Goods. And they're like, well, I don't know if you'll be interested. Like somebody knew a buyer. So, it's just like a friend of a friend. And I'm like, yes, that's what I want most. And then I'll never forget, like, telling the man that he's probably thinking, this woman's nuts. I got his cell phone number and I'm like, you don't understand. I really want this opportunity. And I just regurgitate like all of like my CV to him and what I've done and this and like photos and this. And he's like, okay, we can talk. And he ended up sending my art Instagram to the buyer and she picked out 3 of my pieces. Then I just recently met with the head of TJ Maxx and Home Goods. They flew in from the East Coast, 8 very strong females.
Awesome.
Which was awesome. Yeah. And going in and telling my story. And one of the buyers was just like, I love your story. I'm like, you do? I was like, oh my God, I just love being here. It was really awesome. And they're going to extend and expand with my work. So it's exciting.
I think with the running thread, I love it. I mean, we hear this so often, and I think we repeat it almost every episode, right? Is somebody you sent the DM, right? Or you sent the Instagram message, you sent the text, you took advantage of every opportunity. You didn't let, like you said, your mantra, you don't let fear, take your decisions. I mean, at this point, you're much more confident than you were in 2018, but at the same time, you took that text and you ran with it, right? Or you took that phone 100%. Number and you ran with it, right?
Oh yeah.
But I mean, now you're in, not only are you in, this is a commercial and promotional opportunity, but it probably feels really good because you have that connection to your mom. So that's exciting.
Totally. And that's what I made sure to tell them. I'm like, you don't understand. This was my mom's favorite store by far. And it's just so epic to be here. So it was great. I wish I could call heaven and let her know, but it's so awesome.
She's watching.
Believe it. I'd be like, I'm an artist and I'm in Home Goods. She'd be like, what?
She bet you she'd say, I remember her, and I bet you say, I knew you could do it. I bet she's just like, she would just say that. I remember her.
Really sweet.
Yeah.
She's sending the good vibes to make it happen.
Yeah,
definitely. I know, and I know Amy's really curious about this because you talked about Instagram and how you built your brand for the art and Instagram, and then also, but you have a very active personal account, right? I know Amy's dying to ask you because she's a social media coach, so I'll kind of let her run with this. But so Amy, run with your social media questions you have.
Okay, I want to know.
She has a fun account. You should follow her.
Oh, I would love to. I'll definitely.
I have two friends now, you and my cousin, who have verified blue check marks on their Instagram. Mm-hmm. So, okay, how do you get that? Aside from being on Twitter and paying for it, how do you actually get that on Instagram? How did you grow to your thousands of followers? Millions of followers.
Initially, I didn't even use Instagram at all. And when I did the Bravo show, they had us all go through social media boot camp pretty much. And I had to get a Twitter account, which I never used. I only had it for the show. And I actually didn't even inquire about the check mark like some of my castmates did through Bravo, which I should have done. And I was wondering, I'm like, oh, how did you get verified? They're like, oh, I just contacted so-and-so from network. And I'm like, oh, I kind of missed the bus there because our show has been canceled for 2 years. So a friend of mine that I met at Formula One, who became my friend, I have a lot of really crazy stories of how I end up at a lot of different places. And one of the epic opportunities is being at Formula One with Team Mercedes, and at a party for Lewis Hamilton, this guy came up to me, and he works in marketing, and he noticed that I had a pretty decent following. I think at the time it was like 40 something thousand. And I said, oh, I was on this TV show. And he said, well, why aren't you verified? I'm like, I don't know. I never asked to be. He's like, well, let's take care of that. So I gave him, he's like, you need 5 major news media outlets. Like I had Daily Mail, Us Weekly, Fox, Fox News. And then I had a couple big my friend Tammin from Pretty Little Liars, her podcasts and different media write-ups. But you have to have 5 major media write-ups. And then I think I turned in like 15, something like that. And then you give your driver's license. They want to verify that it's you. But Instagram has changed completely. Had I done in 2014, which most people were doing to grow their accounts, there wasn't the blocks of the algorithm. Now it's only 1%. For every 10,000 followers you have, it's like you have either 5% to like 3%. So I think my account gets 1%. Of my followers see my active followers. It's awful. I mean, it's not set up to win. Instagram's these people are smart. They were renting on their land and they want the rent.
Yeah.
It's like time for a paycheck.
Well, and as like a side note, the press and all of that earned media that you're getting, and the things that you own. So all of your artwork, all of the things that you've done, your website when you launch, your new site, and all of those pieces, they're so important. I have clients that come to me, and the first thing that they said is, I need to be on Instagram. And I always ask them, like, what is it that you're looking to do? And, they're like, we want to sell from Instagram. We want to do this. We want to, grow on Instagram. And we just think that we need to be there. And I was like, okay, well, sure. You should be there, but let's do like a health history on the other things that you have, right? Do you have email addresses? Do you have a website? Are you utilizing them? Do you have content to share? Because at the end of the day, and this is, I said this to a prospect recently that I was speaking to, and I said, the big piece about that, I truly believe, is how you build a supportive community. And it's not just virtually, but it's also the relationships that that you speak of, right? It's
Definitely.
not being afraid, to go and to talk to people. And Denyse, you had mentioned that earlier too. It's not being afraid to like put yourself out there to just like reach out to somebody and have that conversation.
It's essential. It's essential. Yeah.
Well, you're a master networker, as I can observe, right? I mean, Beth, you use your like entertainment, Beth also did modeling and acting, right? Before, you were married, right? And so,
yes.
And all of that. So, and you go to these events, right? In-person events aren't dead, right? Is that where,
not at all.
Are we not wrong there, Beth?
No, I love it. I love every opportunity. I definitely try to see this as a moment and think about if there's a connection, there's a purpose, there's a reason I'm in a room with these people. Who am I supposed to meet tonight? Who am I supposed to talk to? I really truly believe it. And there's times where I'm like, God, I'm so tired. I don't want to go tonight. And there's a reason I went. And that's how I met my art agent, actually, through a mutual friend. I was telling him, because when COVID happened, everything came to a standstill. Surprisingly, art was not a necessity for people to buy. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I was literally filling out applications on Indeed, like, what odd jobs can I do? What can I do between, pick up and drop off with my kids? And my friend Danny's like, you're not going to quit. You've come too far. I'm like, nope, it's over. I was like pity party of one. Lost my whole life. Total victim. I was like, it's over. And he's like, no, I'm going to make a phone call. I think you need to meet Eddie Donaldson. And I'm like, okay. He's like, do you know who Gorilla One is? I'm like, no. He's like, well, first of all, you need to start doing your research. Shepard Fairey is? Sounds familiar. He's like, Obama poster, Shepard Fairey, Obey, like huge. I'm like, oh, yeah, I knew who that is. He's like, yeah, he works closely with him, Retina, Risk, all these like huge artists. And I was like, all right. He's like, yeah, I need to make a phone call for you. And he did. And he got me into a show, Love LA. And David Arquette, the actor, was in it. He's an artist. He also was representing him, Dave Navarro, Jane's Addiction, does art, dual diagnosis. So a lot of like, celebrities, people that want to get into art and they want to be like edgy or street artists or graffiti artists or whatever, they all know each other. I'm not in any of those categories. So he was kind of like, why would I take this girl on? My piece ended up selling, or he's like, oh, bring 2 small pieces. But I also brought 2 big ones just in case, like there was room or there was an opportunity. He was like, oh, we'll put him up. And so he ended up putting him up. And then at the Malibu show, around the same time that Neil Diamond bought my piece, one of my other pieces was the first to sell that night. And he's like, oh, okay, good. And I was like, Eddie, my piece sold. And he's like, okay. Like, not excited, not freaking out. But he kind of like, all right, this energy is a new look for me because I'm usually with like graffiti and street artists. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a good thing. And so then he just saw like the wins and the wins. He's like, it's easy to win with you. He's like, I like this. I go, is it? He's like, yeah. He's like, you're crazy enough to not care and like go all in. And he's like, I'm here for it. And I'll never forget when he called, he's like, I have an opportunity for you. It's big. It's big. It's for the World Cup. Can you do it? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you can do it. I'm like, yep. But that challenge, I was like, yes, I can do it. It turned out awesome.
Aww.
But yeah, it's just the things that terrify you are just, it's so good also for your self-esteem to know that you can do it. And just, you have to face your fears. You have to keep going. I can't just stop and be like, no, this is where I draw the line. Like, no, it's scary. It's intimidating, but give it a shot. And I just did a couple murals. Like, I'm not a street artist. They turned out, I think they look good. I mean, it's not like Shepard Fairey work, but I'm in the fame yard. Like, it's rad.
Yeah.
Someone's going to come up and hashtag your piece.
Yeah. So, and they do. It's cool to get tagged when they're on Melrose, and the fame yard's cool because a lot of people go in and they take photos. And I have
Do you have anything down in Miami right now?
Not right now.
Okay.
No.
I'll be there over spring break. So it's like,
I could
go and
I know.
The home goods there.
Yeah.
Well, look.
No, I mean, that's so cool. I mean, the fact that I think that, just that decided to take this path and you've utilized your network. I mean, it's inspirational. I mean, I think that anyone hearing, whether you're not have to be an artist to know that this is, literally Beth has put it all out there for everyone right now, you guys. Like she literally just rolled with it, right? And her positive attitude about it, like, also like shines through, obviously. So,
I mean, honestly, I would even put home goods above the Louvre just because of sentimental value. I also am excited for my upcoming show in Times Square.
Ooh.
I made a cold call. I saw an ad on Instagram about this gallery, and it was like six Summit Gallery, and it showed this window, and there was this woman that she was like a model inside like a storefront, and there was art behind her, and I'm like, what is this place? This is so cool. And I did a little research and figured out the owner of the gallery's name, cold called him, said, hey, it's Beth Bowen Art. Love to showcase at your gallery. And he's like, okay, well, we usually plan out the window, a year in advance. I'm like, well, looks like we're going to be doing a pretty big press push for March because it's Women's Month. And I think it'd be advantageous if my art was in your gallery, especially for press to come and check out. And it'd be good for your gallery, good for my art, like win-win, right? Sure enough, he moved whoever's in the next month, and I'm in 2 weeks, and my art's on way, and I have 10 pieces on its way to Times Square.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know, that's so awesome. As we were prepping for this interview, I was like checking out what's Beth been up to lately, and then I literally see you like, on Instagram, you're loading the pieces onto the truck, like off to New York, and I'm like, this girl has so many great stories. I like, this is going to be awesome. Like, the fact that I can't wait to hear, right? That's all. I was like, I wonder how she did it. Literally a cold call, you guys. Cold call.
Yeah, you have to be crazy enough to believe you can do it. You have to.
Yeah, that's true too, in a lot of it.
You really do. You have to just go in. And what's the worst that's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work. You're not going to die. You're not going to be divorced over it. No one's going to die around you. Like all the awful things that I actually went through, like this is nothing. Like, oh, I don't like your art. Okay. Like, I don't care. Like, it's like, it doesn't even affect me in the grand scheme of things. Once you go through like real life shit, nothing can stop you. So for me, it's just like, let's get this interview. Let's get this gallery. Let's travel here. Let's talk to go. Yes. All the time.
That's so cool.
And it's amazing. And that's the same that, Denyse and I have said about our podcast. It's like, what's the worst that could happen? Only our moms listen.
I mean, true story.
Exactly. Right? Like, and our moms are amazing, but they do. And they do listen. And you know what? Thousands of other people have too. Just kidding.
It's amazing.
We're almost at the 1,000. But
it's amazing. Yeah, you got to start somewhere. 100%.
We're almost there with your episode. We'll be over 1,000. I mean, but like, it's. But that's it. Like, if Denyse working with her business and with her career coaching, and me with my business and helping people and with their marketing and coaching and all of it, like, and you with your art, and Jessie with her tits on all over the designs, and all of it, and Stephanie that we talked to with our first episode. Like, if her business coach, if none of us like took these steps to do these things, to realize that there was a miss in our life or there was a miss in the market, and if we all let fear prevent us from doing the things that we wanted to do, then we'd all be sitting in like a fucking cubicle.
Yep.
So miserable.
And really quick, another opportunity that happened, I put on my own vision board, like I've always wanted bucket list trips, Maldives. I wanted to go to Dubai. out of the blue, a couple of years ago, a friend of mine's like, hey, we're going celebrating, her husband's name is Mike's 50th birthday in the Maldives. And I'm like, that's a bucket list trip. And at the time, my bank account, like I said, did not reflect the success I was having. I was like, how the heck is this going to happen? But the fact that landed in my lap, I knew the universe is like, you wanted to go? Here's your opportunity. What did I do? A gentleman reached out to me on Instagram. He's like, I love your anti-cancel culture piece that I did. I did one about, because I truly don't believe that anyone should ever be canceled. Like, there's learning opportunities. You can get your slap on the wrist or really, self-reflect, what you did, but to be done and over, like, who's the judge and jury for people's lives? I'm against it. Anyways, so I did this piece, anti-cancel culture, and he's like, I love it. How much? And I went on his Instagram and I saw that he's traveling to Europe and he's traveling to the Middle East. And I'm like, what do you do for a living? And he's like, oh, I work in oil and I do this and that. And you know what? It would be amazing if we could trade miles for the painting. I flew first class to Dubai on miles. It was awesome. I had no business. And then we had a huge deal at this insane resort. And my other friend, Michelle, was a doctor. She came. And so we had the biggest room since I had two people I was sharing with. So since there was 3 to ours, we had the largest room at the end. Michelle's like, I don't share a bed. I'm like, okay, you get the pull out. Sucks to be you. and then
sorry, Michelle.
Yeah. And then Shelby's like, I'm living my best life. I'll come home when the sun comes up. I'm like, great, because I'm going to bed when the sun goes down because I want the full day. I had the Cal King bed. There was like rose petals and palm leaves on the bed. They decorated every night. And I'm like, and then I split this room 3 ways. So the whole trip for like 2 weeks, Dubai, Maldives, should have easily costed $30,000 to $40,000 minimum for how big we went. It was cut by so many people picking up the dinner tabs and these crazy dinners and everything. I think I spent $1,700 on the entire trip.
Oh my God.
Start to finish. So when
Denise, we're starting to travel with Beth.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you. The opportunity happened. I'm like, all right. There's got to be, when someone gives you something you've always wanted, figure out a way to make it happen. Like, there's a lead, run with it, take it. I think we got to acknowledge when doors are opening to step through. We got to go and not look back and be like, oh, but go. It'll work out. It does. There's a net there to catch you. I'm living proof of it. I'm like, no business. And I'm like, woo.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so true. Well, Beth, I mean, there's so much good, inspiration here and so many great nuggets that I think people can take, whether it's pursuing a new career, reinventing themselves after a major life event. I mean, you had a couple major life events when you were like, okay. But then also just like taking the bull by the horns, using networking to like get to what you want. I mean, you literally navigated the art world. I mean, it's a pretty fascinating story. So I'm so happy you came on here and shared your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so fun.
It's such a good one. I know, Amy, any last thoughts or anything you want to close out with?
I mean, I think the big piece is that, really just recognizing that fear is going to be the thing that's going to hold you back with so everything. Much. It's whatever happens between your ears. We say this to my son when he's about to step on the ice, like, it's all in your head, right? You're going to go out, you're going to go play hard. My son plays travel hockey. And the minute that you let yourself stop just like thinking about and overthinking about everything. And I am queen of overthinking. I wrote a blog post recently about that. Like, I am queen of overthinking the overthinking, and it holds you up. So I feel like that's a big piece. If I've learned a few things from you today, and one of them, aside from that, I need a lot of major press in order to get the blue check mark, is don't let fear. So there you go. In order for me to get that blue check mark, I need to get those 5 major news outlets, and I can't let fear stop me from doing that. So there you go.
Yep. Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. Change that mental dialogue.
No. Okay, call someone else. I mean, you knock on enough doors, one's going to open.
One is going to open.
Always happens. It will. It will.
So fun.
Awesome.
Well, Beth, tell us, give us, just to summarize again, so our listeners can, know where to find your art, know where to find you. Tell us about this art show. Give us, some call outs.
Yeah. So next show's in Times Square, March 10th, and it'll be up through the 27th. Looking at other galleries that I can move my pieces around while I'm there and while the pieces are there. Beth Bowen Art at Beth Bowen Art on Instagram. I am Beth Bowen's my personal account. And Home Goods. And hopefully,
and your local home goods.
I'm looking to expand everywhere. So I've reached out. I have a lot of different irons in the fire. So we'll see what happens next.
We can't.
I'd love to come back.
Yes. Next season 3 for sure. And we will put all these call outs in the show notes so that they know where to find you. Will you be in New York at the show?
Yes, I'll be there.
Oh, good. Well, you can meet Beth herself if you're in New York.
6 o'clock. 6 Summit. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Beth. This has been
thank you so
fun.
much for having me. So fun.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And we can't wait to see what you do next. So keep us posted. And if you ever need a +1 to Dubai,
+2.
Anything.
Anywhere. +2 anywhere.
Thanks
for meeting us at our mailbox and listening in on another episode with our guest, the fabulous Beth Bowen. It was so fun for Denyse and I to connect with such a dynamic artist and professional and really, just person who provided us with a lot of really great inspirational quotes. So I think that you could do an inspirational quote with one of your messages from today. And you shared where our listeners can find you. So check out our show notes and we will be back next week with another great episode.
And that's a wrap for this week. In season 2, our goal is to share actionable tips with you. We hope this podcast episode leaves you feeling encouraged and full of midlife energy. But don't go away yet. Be sure to check out our show notes. And while you're there, click to join our email list. We promise we'll send only meaningful content. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram too, for the show at Midlife at the Mailbox, or our individual accounts for our own tips and tricks at Amy L. Alex 28 and Denyse Rabat. That's Denise with a Y. Thanks, Mom. So that we can come into your inbox each week and your feed almost daily. If you're a seasoned listener or just found us, we're glad you did. Make sure that you are following our show on your favorite podcast platform. And if you like what you hear, please share our episode with your midlife bestie and leave us a 5-star review so more awesome listeners like you can discover Midlife at the Mailbox. We release new episodes every other week on Thursdays. At least we try. Our podcast is a production from the minds of 2 midlife besties and produced with love by the very creative Amy Alexander and Denyse Rabat. Professional video and audio editing by Hivecast. See you at the mailbox. Bye.